Hi, welcome. If this video has found you or you have found it, it's probably because you're in the first week or two of being a new widow. Let me say this first. As hard as this seems right now, you will get through this. You will get through this. It may not seem like you will, but please trust me on this. You will get through this. Hearing that word for the first time, widow, is jarring. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. When you get the call from a funeral home or someone refers to you as a widow for the first time, it is like, who are they talking about? It's not talking about me. I'm not a widow. And you suddenly realize, yeah, they're talking about me. Okay. I think in the first couple of weeks, those are the most difficult times to get through, because everyone's trying to help and no one really knows how. Know that my heart is with you during this time. And more people than you think or know care about you and want to be there for you. The problem is going to be that they're not going to know how to show up in many cases for you. So in the first week, in the second week, let them show up however it is they're going to show up. They might bring food. A lot of people bring food. People brought food to me. So much food. So much food, it lasted into the next month at least. And that's what people do because they're not sure what else to do. People will say, let me know if there's anything I can do. But in your first week, your first 2 weeks, it is probably going to be chaos. And you have to just accept that and go with it and know that every day you will get through it, taking it one day at a time. Of course, there are exceptions. There are exceptions when you lose a spouse or a partner that are best addressed by just talking about the situations where your partner, your spouse, your husband, your wife, because of religious reasons, needs to be buried very quickly within 24 hours. And it is what it is. And what I have found in talking to other widows is that there usually is a community, a spiritual church, or religious community around you to help you through that. What I'm going to be addressing is when that's not the case and you have time to make decisions. In your first week, and yes, I have Phil's ring that I keep on my index finger. It's very comforting. Also, this happens to be his turtleneck that he wore, and it just makes me feel closer to him sometimes. There are little things like that that you'll find going along in your journey maybe in your first week, maybe in your second week. That will be helpful. If you're in your first week, you've probably already received back a bag of things from the hospital, if the death was at a hospital, of your husband's clothes, their jewelry, which for me included the ring, the wedding ring. If it was a death at home, you're dealing with a whole different situation. Hospice may have been in, but you're still dealing with the things, your partner's things, your spouse's things. Be very careful not to make any rash decisions or any huge important decisions the first week, especially the first week. Give yourself time, and I'm telling you and giving you permission to give yourself time to, if you need to just rest and just go and lay down, go do that. Take care of yourself, because the next few weeks can be very draining. That's what I found. And I found that if I wasn't staying hydrated, wasn't eating, wasn't taking the rest or taking the naps that I needed to, I just wasn't good for anybody, and I wasn't certainly in any shape to make any decisions. So that a lot is going on around you, it's just an understatement. It's probably chaos. Invite those people in who want to help, who will actually help, and not be performative help. And you'll know who those people are. You'll know who will actually show up for you to go pick up the ashes, to go to the funeral home, to help you pick out something for your spouse, your partner, your husband, your wife to wear. If there's going to be a viewing, with whether that's private or if it's going to be something that you invite the public to, all those decisions, closed casket, open casket, cremation, all of that hopefully has been discussed between you and your partner, your spouse, your wife, your husband, prior to any of this happening. But if that's not the case, then you have decisions that you need to make. And although people will be very well-meaning and want to help you and give you their advice and their thoughts and their concerns and their take on things, the only person that matters right now is what you think and what you want and what you know your spouse or your partner or your loved one would have wanted. You make those decisions. No one else. Bottom line. And it can be difficult to say no and thank you, but people will understand and they will step back and they will let you make those decisions. If they don't, then boundaries. Draw some boundaries. Your first week, your second week, learn, if you haven't already, learn to set boundaries. Start setting them with these people. I'm giving you permission to set boundaries because you will need to set boundaries, especially going forward. The first 2 weeks are going to be very difficult to remember a year later. I sat down before I started this video and thought, I need to really think about that week or those 2 weeks. I couldn't remember much. And I really had to go back to my journal, which I highly suggest if this is your first or second week as a new widow. Get a journal, get a planner, start writing things down, because there will be a lot to write down and a lot to keep track of. So the more you write down, the more you take notes, just have that with you. It's just a thing that I was doing before Phil passed away, and it came in it became so important that evening after he had his heart attack and he died in the hospital, that I had a notebook to go to keep track of everything that was going on or that was going to be expected of me. And that's one of the few things you can do in that first week is tell somebody, give them things to do. People ask, what can we do? Give them tasks that they can do for you that are simple, but not, earth-shattering or, going to set in stone something or put in motion something that you are not ready to have put in motion. Picking up a planner for you, picking up a calendar for you, picking up a notebook for you, bringing, like I mentioned, bringing in food. Those are all things people can do. You're not alone in feeling like things are crazy. Like this maybe didn't even happen. Maybe you feel like your husband, will come home and surprise you and be alive. It's not unusual. And if you're watching and you're a widower or it's your partner, same thing. There'll be moments where it just is not something you can even believe happened. If you have pets, they're going to look for the person. They're going to look for your person. It will take time. It will take time. If you have pets, lean into them for strength. I have dogs, and they knew immediately. They knew immediately something was off. And I don't know how much they understood, or if they understood at all, but I told them, and I called the dogs, I referred to, Phil as your daddy. So I said, Daddy's not coming back. He's not coming back this time. And they waited for him often at about, the time he would arrive back from work. And they will have to get used to a new normal. If you have children, young children, bring in family, bring in help if you can, because you need to take care of yourself. The biggest thing I was afraid of was getting sick, because I knew that because we were in the Christmas season when Phil passed, that people were going to be gathering for the first time. People were going to be, Maybe they had their flu shot, maybe they didn't, maybe they'll show up sick, maybe they won't. But I knew, or I felt like I could not get sick because I had to be strong and I had to get through this. Also, in the first weeks, if there are people you do not want to see, do not see them. You don't have to see them. You cannot answer your door. I give you permission not to answer your door to people who you do not want to see, who you know are there only for a performative reason, to pat you on the head, and you know this from previous interactions with them, that they're not really there to help. So I give you permission to not answer the door, to not answer the phone if you see them on caller ID. Talking to them can wait. This is not the time. You need time right now to digest, figure out, comprehend, get a grip, if that's even a possible thing in the first 2 weeks. I know it wasn't for me, but I started to, especially when I heard that word widow for the first time. You are going to be going through it, as they say. Going through it pretty intensely. Probably the most intense thing perhaps you'll ever experience in your life, other than maybe the loss of a child, the loss of someone that you've been with, as I was with Phil for 26 years, is going to be extremely jarring. You are going to be going through it, as they say. Going through it pretty intensely. Probably the most intense thing perhaps you'll ever experience in your life, other than maybe the loss of a child, the loss of someone that you've been with, as I was with Phil for 26 years, is going to be extremely jarring. All of the things that you once knew as being normal, and your routines, your day-to-day, have just changed. And that becomes so clear that first week, that second week, when they're not in the next room, when they're not coming back from the store or from work or from wherever, that they're just not coming back. And I think in the first 2 weeks, that's the hardest thing to grapple with. So give yourself time and give yourself space. And as they say, give yourself grace to process that. If you've been very independent and very type A and are used to running things the way that you want them to be run, realize that things are going to happen that you don't have control over. And because this video is focused on week 1 and week 2 of being a new widow, we have to talk about what happens with your loved ones, your spouses, your husband, your wife, your partner, their remains. They're not here. They are Their shell of their body is here, and you will be getting calls that you may not be ready to deal with. The calls that you will get might be from the hospital, if that is where they passed, especially if your loved one is still at the hospital and needs to be moved on to the funeral home. Week 1, you'll be picking out a funeral home if this is not a death that you knew was coming. That is where you bring in your trusted close circle. And they can be helpful in making that decision. And it doesn't have to be made overnight. But it will have to be made. So that's why I'm talking about it in the first week to 2 weeks of being a widow. If the death happened at home, they've already taken your loved one, and they're at the funeral home, you may be getting calls from the funeral home. What do you want to do? At this point, just stop. Take a moment. Give yourself time to think. Did they have a living will? Did they tell you what they wanted? Do you know what you want to do for them? If you have children, what do they want to do? Bring them into the conversation. Case, the first 2 weeks were really difficult because our son was living in California, or is living in California, and calling him from the emergency room while his dad was taking his last breaths were difficult but important. And what I had to do is, because he wasn't here and he couldn't possibly fly back, he was, thousands of miles away to be with his dad. We did what we could with the phones that we had. That's a personal choice if you're in that situation, on how you want to deal with that. My choice was, Bill doesn't need to see this mess in the emergency room. Doesn't need to see his dad like this. I want him to remember his dad as he was. I think I asked him, do you want to go on FaceTime from the emergency room? And I can't honestly remember, but I just thought that it would not be I thought it would not be a good thing. I think he said the same thing. And what we ended up doing is later having a private viewing for my son and for a very small select group of family members. And that was our choice. But those were things that we talked about during the first week. And that was a discussion I had with my son, because suddenly his world was upside down too. We didn't expect this. We couldn't have known. And so his world in California, the rug's been pulled out from under him too. And I had to take that all into consideration. And that's something to think about if you have relatives that need to be called and that are going to be flying in. Those first 2 weeks, those calls that you have to make, everyone's life is going to be topsy-turvy. Everyone's life that, and I'm speaking to those people who are closest to you and who will want to show up for you and your loved one to say goodbye. So make the calls, discuss your options, but remember that you remain in control, especially if you are the spouse. Or the partner, and you have that authority. That's your decision. So, if there's anything I can leave you with is, on that particular area where you're making those calls and having people come in, think about who you want to be there and how that will play into the time frame of everything happening as far as celebration of life, a full funeral if you're perhaps Roman Catholic, or a funeral in any other religion where, it's going to be a viewing and a funeral. Are people actually going to be able to make that trip? And some won't. And that's okay. You move on from that because you need to take care of you. And you need to understand that this is your grief process. And it's not easy. And it's going to be difficult. But you will get through this. You will get through this. I'll say it again and again and again and again, because I know that right now it doesn't seem like it. But again, if you're here, it means you are going through this probably right now. And my heart is with you. And I hope this offered a little bit of insight into that first week. The other thing with thinking back to the first week and second week of being a widow was, what clothes should I wear? Should I suddenly don black dresses and veils because my husband has died? No. There might be an expectation that you're going to do that. But you make the rules up. You make your own rules on what you want to wear. And I would add this: let it be things that are comfortable. You don't have to follow anybody else's rules or what you think society expects from you, or what you think the neighbors expect from you, or the lady down the block who has an opinion on everything. You don't have to listen to what they say. Wear what you want to wear. Because you're going through a lot. And that's the most important thing right now, is to remember that. And that you need to take care of yourself, and forget about everybody else's opinion. It just doesn't matter. Finally, if you are in the first week or two of being a new widow, remember that this is a beginning of a new journey, a journey that you probably did not want to take, but yet you are on it. And you will find strength within you that, trust me, you didn't realize you had. You will find resilience in you that you didn't realize you had. You will find power within yourself that you didn't realize you had. And it will come slowly, it will come day by day. And you'll build upon those little wins, those little things that you do every day. Because that is how you will get through this. And you will get through this. I keep saying that because I'm still here. So I hope this was a little bit of a help. And it was super focused on just that first week or two. And just giving you permission to let whatever happens happen. Because something major has just happened in your life. This tragedy has just happened. It's too fresh for you to try to fix everything and make everything and work out all the details in that first week, and even in the second week. It's just too fresh, and you need to give yourself time. So please, do that for yourself. Do that for the loved ones around you that are going to be relying on you, especially if you have small kids, especially if kids of any age. So thank you for your time. I hope this helped a little bit. I drew on my own experience from being a widow and understanding that first week is crazy. It's just crazy because nothing makes sense. Nothing that happened makes sense. So I leave you with this. My heart is with you. You will find strength within yourself that, again, you never realized you had. Take care of yourself. That's the most important thing right now. Take care of yourself.